In this video, we are going to have a look at this very compact full frame lens, the Sigma 24mm f3.5 DGDN. Kia ora, good morning everyone, Rich Wong here, welcome back to the channel. Today we have this Sigma 24mm f3.5 DGDN lens. This is one of the first Sigma I-series lens. The I-series lens focus on three things: the compact size, good shooting experience, as well as the image quality. This lens is available for Sony E-mount and also L-mount cameras. The sample I have here today is for the Sony E-mount, but because the optical design is exactly the same between the E-mount and the L-mount version, so the image quality would be identical for both versions. The only difference between the E-mount and the L-mount is that the autofocus performance may be a little bit different because the E-mount and L-mount cameras, they use a different autofocus system. So let's start this review by talk about the design and build quality of this lens first. This Sigma 24mm f3.5 DGDN lens is quite a compact full frame lens. Let me mount it on the Sony a7 III, and then you can see that it is quite a compact lens once you mount it on the Sony a7 III. The construction is pretty much full metal construction, so the lens feels very solid. At the front we have the focus ring, which feels very smooth, and behind that we have a aperture ring which start from f3.5 all the way to f22, or you can turn it to the A position if you want to use the camera's dial to control the aperture instead of using this dial. So for each of the stops there are 3 clicks between you move on to the next stop, and the aperture ring itself just feels fantastic when you are turning it. The clicks, it feels absolutely amazing. There is only one switch on the lens, which is the autofocus manual focus switch. The switch itself is quite large, and also it feels very nice when you are switching between the autofocus and manual focus mode. The lens comes with a lens hood which is mostly made of metal. It looks very nice, and also because it's made of metal, it feels very nice as well. And when you mount it onto the lens, there is a click when you secure it onto the lens, and that click feels very satisfying. This lens comes with 2 different lens caps. We have the normal one, the plastic one, which is very similar to the one you found on other Sigma lenses, but we also have a new one. This is a metal lens cap. So this is, I think, the first time that the Sigma lenses that has a metal lens cap. This lens cap is fully made of metal, feels very nice. You hold it, it feels very solid, feels very premium. Surprisingly, on the front there is no Sigma logo at all. So yeah, there is a little Sigma logo printed at the back, but at the front there is no logo at all. And this lens cap is just magnetically snap onto the lens. So you just put it like this and you will snap onto the lens, and don't have to worry about it may fall off the lens. It wouldn't fall off the lens at all, no matter how I shake it. I have tried to walk around, do a bit of running with the lens cap on the lens. It never fell off from the lens itself. My only complaint about this metal lens cap is because if you look at the design of the lens cap, at the front there is nothing for you to actually easily hold it. So if you want to remove the lens cap when you don't have the lens hood attached, it's very easy. Hold it and then you can remove it like this. But if you have the lens hood attached to the lens, especially not in the reverse position, it might be a bit tricky if you try to take it off the lens. Yeah, you can do it like this, but it's not the easiest thing to do. So overall, the build quality of this lens is definitely fantastic. From the lens itself to the lens hood to the metal lens cap, everything feels very solid and also feel very premium. When shooting with this lens, when you're holding it, the metal body, the metal lens cap, and also when you are turning the aperture ring, the little clicks and the feedback you feel when you are turning the ring, everything together give you an excellent shooting experience. This Sigma lens uses a stepping autofocus motor, and the autofocus performance is very good. The autofocus speed is fast, and it is also very quiet no matter you are shooting photo or video. And I also noticed this lens has a surprisingly low amount of focus breathing as well. Have a look at this video footage. I was switching the focus distance between pretty close to far away, and you can see the amount of focus breathing is very minimal. The minimum focus distance of this lens is only 10 cm, and that would give you the maximum magnification ratio of 1:2. And when you are shooting photo at the minimum focus distance, the front element is only a few centimeters away from your subject. So that means it's very close, so you definitely have to remove the lens hood, and you also have to be really careful where the light is coming from, because your camera or the lens itself might cast shadow on your subject. When taking close-up photos, the background bokeh looks very nice and smooth, but I also noticed at the very close distance, the subject, if you are shooting at the maximum aperture, could be a little bit soft. So you may have to stop down the lens a little bit to around f5.6, then your subject will become reasonably sharp. When taking photo at normal focus distance, this is a very sharp lens. Have a look at this sample photo that I shot at f3.5. Look at the center of the photo. Even at the maximum aperture and zoom in at 200%, the image is already very sharp. So even if I stop down a little bit, the center sharpness wouldn't improve much at all. And if we look at the corner, at the maximum aperture, the corner is also pretty sharp already. If you stop down a little bit, the corner sharpness would improve slightly, but even at f3.5, I would say the image sharpness is already very good from center all the way to the corners. Probably because of the compact design of this lens, there is some pretty strong vignetting when you are shooting at the maximum aperture. Stop down the lens would improve vignetting, but the amount of vignetting is a bit more than average no matter what aperture setting you are using. But of course, because this lens has the lens profile built-in, so you could turn on the compensation feature on your camera to reduce the amount of vignetting. Chromatic aberration is quite well controlled with this lens. When you are shooting at f3.5, you can sometimes see a little bit of color fringing, but overall the amount of color fringing is not too serious, and if you stop down the lens a little bit, then there will be virtually no chromatic aberration. The lens has a bit of pincushion distortion, especially near the edge of the frame. While the distortion is noticeable, I wouldn't say it is terrible. For example, the Tamron 24mm prime lens has more noticeable and more serious distortion compared to this Sigma 24mm lens. Lens flare control is very well with this Sigma lens. No matter I'm shooting directly into the sun on a bright sunny day, or in the evening shooting into a bright light source, the amount of lens flare and ghosting is always at a very minimal level. Starting from around f11, sunstars become visible when shooting with this Sigma lens. If you stop down all the way to the minimum aperture f22, you can get the maximum sunstars effect. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the sunstar from this lens. Even when I stop down to f22, I still don't really like the sunstar from this Sigma lens, but sunstar is quite a personal thing, so if you disagree with me, feel free to drop a comment below and let me know. Now, because this lens maximum aperture is only 3.5, so it's not exactly a very fast lens, but I found that it actually could be a pretty good astrophotography lens as well. So have a look at this sample photo I just took in my garden at night, and if you zoom in and look at the image, even at the corner, you can see this lens actually has very good chroma control. So that means you can shoot at the maximum aperture if you want to use this lens to do a bit of astrophotography. If you are a Sony shooter, there is the Tamron 24mm f2.8 lens, which is a very affordable lens, and it's also a very nice lens, especially if you consider the price of that lens. So if you want to buy a 24mm lens for your Sony camera, you will look at the two lenses and you will think, why do I want to buy the Sigma lens? They are both 24mm, the specs are very similar, and the Sigma is quite a bit more expensive. And also, especially if you consider that the Tamron is f2.8 and the Sigma is f3.5, so it's a little bit slower and you have to pay more for it. So why is it? I think that is a very valid question, and a lot of people would be thinking about that. And to me, I think there is one very good reason why you would consider getting this Sigma instead of the cheaper Tamron lens. And the answer is the better shooting experience. If you have watched my Tamron 24mm lens review, you may remember I said the Tamron lens feel pretty plastic, because the whole Tamron lens is mostly made of plastic, from the lens itself to the lens hood, and everything feel pretty plastic. But this Sigma lens is completely opposite. Pretty much the whole lens is made of metal, and it does feel very nice, and it also feel very premium. And I mentioned it already earlier in this review, but when you holding the lens and you shooting, everything just feel absolutely fantastic. Turning the aperture ring, the feedback feels very nice. Even just holding the lens hood, the metal lens hood, the texture, the metal feeling, the little design details that Sigma put into the lens hood as well as the rest of the lens just make the lens feel super satisfying when you are shooting with this lens. It reminds me why I still love to shoot with my film camera from time to time. It's not because my film camera gives me better image quality than the digital camera that I have, but it's just the whole shooting experience when you are using a camera and lens that is beautifully made and feel very solid. That just gives you a wonderful shooting experience. So if you are someone who also value good shooting experience, paying a little bit more to get the Sigma would definitely make sense to you.